Hello, Theodore Shoebat here, giving you guys another message that you will not hear at church. Today I'm going to be talking to you guys about a new Christian militia that has formed in Iraq to fight against ISIS. Now, there have been numerous Christian militias that have formed in Iraq, and this is just the latest installment to this great holy war to defend the churches and to defend Christianity from the onslaught that is coming from Islam, a cult that desires to completely uproot and destroy Christianity. Play the clip.
Following ISIL's advance in northern Iraq and its capture of Mosul, as well as the persecution of Iraqi minorities by the notorious group, the minorities felt they have no choice but to defend themselves. After 5 months of displacement, Iraq's Christians are now saying that they want to fight back and retake their land.
Many of the Christian or the Khaldo-Assyrian parties in Kurdistan and Iraq, they contacted the Peshmerga ministry and they asked them to give them the opportunity for the Christian the Christian people who are able to fight Daesh or ISIS.
The chairman of the Supreme Azadi Council, Hadi Baba Sheikh, and the Iraqi Turkmen Front had previously called for arming and training Iraq's minorities.
The last century for the Christians was the Nineveh plain, and they were forced to leave their territories after the events in Mosul and the attacks by ISIS. So now they decided that they must fight for their rights.
500 volunteers will be the first batch of Christians to be trained by the Kurdish Peshmerga. They will be included in what is now being referred to as the Nineveh Plains Brigade. This as top Christian officials in Erbil tell Press TV that thousands have signed up for future batches as well.
The solution offered to us by Western countries in the form of facilitating the immigration of Christians did not work at all. On the contrary, it made things even more complicated.
In recent months, ISIL has overrun Christian-populated regions in northern Iraq, forcing hundreds of thousands to flee. Though Iraq's Christians have time and again called for international pressure against the extremist Takfiris and a dry out of their resources, their calls are yet to be heard. Once again, Iraq's Christians have slammed shut the doors of immigration opened for them by Western countries as a way out of their ordeal. At the heels of the strategic victory scored by the Iraqi army backed by popular committees in regions such as Ermili, Sulaymanbek, Jurf al-Sakhr, and Beji, Christians now hope that the same strategy will work in recapturing their hometowns as well.
Now, after watching that, I want to let you guys know that there are literally thousands of Christians that have enlisted onto this militia to fight for their faith and for the survival of their people. And just to read to you guys some extra information here, it says after 5 months of displacement, Iraq's Christians are now saying that they want to fight back and retake their land. The chairman of Supreme Azadi Council, Hadi Baba Sheikh, and Iraqi Turkmen Front had previously called for arming and training minorities. 500 volunteers will be the first batch of Christians to be trained by the Kurdish Peshmerga. They will be included in what is being referred to as the Nineveh Plains Brigade. And then it says here, top Christian officials in Erbil tell Press TV that thousands have signed up for future batches as well. In recent months, ISIS has overrun Christian-populated regions in northern Iraq, forcing hundreds of thousands to flee, etc., etc. Now, here's the point, is that, for one, there are thousands of Christians, meaning they are thousands of Christians willing to take up arms and fight. Now, let's keep in mind here that Iraq is one of the oldest sites of Christian history. The apostles went to Iraq. St. Peter went to Iraq. St. Paul went to Syria, Mesopotamia, and the apostles established churches there. And so I had the privilege of interviewing a Maronite, and the Maronites are amongst the oldest of the Christians in Lebanon. And he was telling me the theology of warfare that is taught within the church in Lebanon. And of course, this is also taught in Syria and Iraq. The same goes for them. And it's quite interesting how they teach that it is good to fight. In Serbia, they teach the same thing. In Russia, pretty much all of the Eastern Church, they teach that it is good to fight for your faith. It is something to be praised to fight for your faith. St. Augustine tells us, well, just to give you a little background, there was a guy in Augustine's time, I believe his name was Boniface, and this man sent a letter to Augustine. He was a soldier, and he was asking Augustine, how can I be a Christian and be a soldier at the same time? And Augustine responded back to him and said, you have a body, use it. Use it for the glory of God. And I am reminded of what it says, I believe in Corinthians, where St. Paul says that you glorify God in your body and in your spirit. So it's both. And modern day Christianity tends to kind of look at glorifying God as this, how should I say, transcendental or really non-material or immaterial way of looking at it. And that's just not the case in Orthodox Christianity. In the scriptures we read that you honor God with your body and your spirit. And so in the holy war of Christianity, you honor God with body and spirit by fighting with all zeal and with all bodily strength, with all bodily might. And so I would say that the foundation of Christian militancy, of Christian holy war, is the theology of the body, that your body is an image of God. Therefore, being like God, it becomes an instrument for enacting God's justice. This is one of the tenets of holy war. This is one of the tenets of the theology of the body. And of course, you have other people who say that forming militias is unbiblical. And they say, well, that fighting should only be done through the state. And in most cases, this is true. It should be done through the state. But in extreme cases, when the state is too incompetent or too corrupt, as in the case in Nigeria with Boko Haram, or in the case in Iraq and Syria, militias are necessary. And Christian militias are very necessary. Why? Secular militias can be quite dangerous because with secular militia, there really is no eternal goal. With secular militia, it's all just from a position of survival. Christian militia, it is not just a position of survival, it is also a position of eternal significance. It is a position of theological significance. It is the position that says, I am not only fighting for myself and my family and my country, but I'm also fighting for the most important aspect of human life. I am fighting for the reason that I am living, and that is God. We are here, as Duns Scotus once said, all of creation is impelled by love. We are here because of love. God is love. And so when the Christians fight, they fight for the cause of love. They fight for the cause of God. And so they fight for the cause of the greatest form of love, and that is God. That is the cause, the uncaused cause. And so it is of an eternal significance. And when you fight for an eternal significance, you fight without fear, because you are convinced that your life is going to go on. You're not going to die. And you are also fighting for the faith. The faith is the reason for living. There is no other reason to live except the faith. We are here because of God. And so our purpose of living is God. And I just want to read to you guys some of the scriptures here. Many people say that militias are unbiblical. Well, go ahead and tell the prophet Nehemiah that. What does Nehemiah say? Nehemiah was in a very difficult predicament. He was trying to build the temple, and at the same time he was trying to protect the people from pagans that wanted to annihilate them. And he created a militia. And I would say that the book of Nehemiah is probably, after Maccabees, the best example or illustration of a militia, a holy militia in the scriptures. And it says that the pagans, quote, in chapter 4 of Nehemiah, starting with verse 8, it says, the pagans conspired, all of them, together to come and to fight against Jerusalem and to hinder it. Nevertheless, we made our prayer unto our God, religion, it's not secular, and set a watch against them day and night because of them, that's the militia, So religion and militancy are combined. The militia, the idea of a militia with spirituality, orthodoxy, are merged together in Christianity. They cannot be secular. You are fighting for God. You're not fighting just for your own survival. That's a selfish way of looking at things. It says, and our adversaries said, they shall not know, neither see till we come in the midst among them, and slay them, and cause the work to cease. And then in verse 13 it says, therefore set I in the lower places behind the wall, and on the higher places I even set the people after their families with their swords, their spears, and their bows, weapons. And I looked and rose up, and said unto the nobles, and to the rulers, and to the rest of the people, be not ye afraid of them, remember the Lord which is great and terrible, and fight for your brethren, your sons, your daughters, your wives, and your houses. And it came to pass, when our enemies heard that it was known unto us, and God had brought their counsel to naught, that we returned all of us to the wall, every one unto his work. So notice it says here, remember the Lord, which is great and terrible, and fight for your brethren. This is a very profound statement here, and it's filled with all sorts of deep spiritual intricacies. He says, remember God. So when you formulate the militia, remember God. Do not become secular. And fight for your brethren. So in the concept of the holy war, the Christian holy war, or I could say in the context of a crusade, the Crusades were fighting for their brethren, fighting for Christians, and they're remembering God. And so you can say that this verse in Nehemiah can illustrate the foundation of Christian holy war, and that is remembering God, meditating on Him. That is the spiritual aspect. And then fighting for your brethren. That is holy war being enacted through spirituality. So there's a spiritual aspect, and that is remembering God, meditating upon Him. And then that physical aspect of it, which is loving God with your body. That is when fighting is enacted. And that is the militia. So for those of you who say that Christian militancy is not biblical, read the Bible. It's all there. Militias, holy wars, monks, priests, monastics, religion and war coming together, religion and the state coming together, fighting against pagans, destroying idols. It's Christendom. It's the foundation of Christendom. It's holiness. It's holy war. This is Theodore Shoebat. I hope you have enjoyed this message, and I hope you have learned something from this message. God bless, and God be with us. You just heard some theology.
Цара небескога, Бога Бою войске ангельске, хвалите и преузносите у све векове. Свeti, blagoverni kralju Stefane, moli Boga za nas, u ložnicama duhovnih, kao velikom učenik boraveći i likujući, pominji sluge svoje, na što ti se molimo, Stefane.
Sveti, blagoverni kralju Stefane, moli Boga za nas. Krasote sveta, držeći za mučne i žalosne, u mislima razmišljajući slavi, i zato krasotova istinu odenute vladika netenost.
Slava Otcu i Sinu i Svetome Duhu, Davida возлюbljenog i posvjedočena od Boga, remite pokaza se verom i u napastima, no ti si još veći krštenjem i mučenjem.
I sada i u vekove vekova, amin. Govornika učenikom je brakom pokriven, ste neporočna djevo, prebožanstveno začeće ne razumeše, koje je u njim silama nerazumljivo.